Well, hey, fabulous authors, I am so excited to see you. Welcome to episode 12 of RTTV. Now, it doesn't matter what point you are at within your book's journey, whether you are publishing or you're in the process of editing to get published or you are still writing your manuscript, I guarantee that as a writer and as an author, you are working on a new project. So whether your book has just come out or you are still in the process, you are working on a new manuscript, because that's what we as creatives do. We work on new projects all the time. And so today I want to talk to you about working on your new project. And I want to point out that if you are working on a new project and you are not already preparing to market it, you are already so far behind. And I want to talk to you today about 5 ways that you can market the book that you are writing right now while you're writing it right now. So today we're talking about 5 ways to prepare to market your book while you're still writing it. So here we go. Let's jump in and we're going to get started.
Welcome to RTTV, brought to you by Reading Transforms, with your host, K.M. Robinson of K.M. Robinson Photography and Reading Transforms. If you look to the right of your screen, you will note a chat box. We encourage you to ask questions and comment throughout the show. Our moderators will be watching the feed and collecting questions for our hosts to answer during the end of the broadcast. Use the red question mark tab to differentiate your questions from your comments in the feed. If you are a member of our Facebook community and our weekly newsletter, your notes will be emailed to you shortly. Make sure that you are active this week in our Facebook community for deeper insights into how to apply this into your marketing strategy and for ongoing support. Welcome to the weekly live broadcast that will revolutionize your author branding, book marketing, and social media marketing strategies.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about 5 ways that you can actively market your book and prepare to market your book while you are writing, so that you are going to make your life so much easier later on. If you are preparing to market your book right now while you're still writing it, while you're still in this process, and while you're still doing it, and you're involved in your manuscript, it is going to make your life so much easier when you actually get around to pitching it to a publisher or to putting it out in the world. When you get to that point where you are marketing your book publicly, this is going to make life so much easier. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is to photograph everything. And I tell this to my clients and my students all the time. Photograph everything and keep a file of it to reference later. So I am talking about photographing the desk where you are writing your book. I am talking about taking a selfie while you are writing. I am talking about photographing that poolside chair that you sat in while you edited your manuscript. And I am talking about taking pictures of the waterfall that you saw on your research trip. I am talking about the blade of grass next to you when you are sitting at your kid's soccer game while you're waiting for it to start and you are taking notes on your phone. I am talking about anything that is connected to your book in any way. I want you to pull out your phone, I want you to pull out your camera, and I want you to take pictures of it. Because when you take pictures of it and you document what you are doing and your surroundings and the things that you're experiencing, you can then pull those out later and use those within your marketing. So imagine this. You get around to the point where you are marketing your book and you need things for an interview, or you need things for your social media, or you need things for your Instagram stories, or you need things for your blog. What are you going to do if you do not have things stored up? Now, if you have a file of these photos, if you have all of these pictures ready to go, you can pull them out as needed and give them to the people that need them. So let's say you're doing an interview and you want to talk about the time that you were writing the kissing scene that everybody loves, and you have a picture of the coffee house that you were in when you wrote that. You can pull that out and be the really cool author who can show that. Or if you are doing a radio interview and you talk about a story from the time you were editing your book on vacation, and then later you can jump on your social media and say, hey, this is a photo from that vacation that I was telling you about. Check that out. That is going to help you. And if you can use this in your blog, your social media, your newsletter, that is going to be beneficial to you because you already have that. And you don't have to go and try to recreate those later. If you can keep those ready for yourself now, you are going to have a much easier time later. So the second thing I want to talk to you about actually goes hand in hand with those photos, and that is to videotape everything. And I mean everything. Now here's the trick. Just because you videotape something does not mean you have to use it. So I know some of you are not fans of being on film. You don't necessarily like being on video. You don't like live broadcasts. But if you don't do it, you might regret it later. If you film things now and you save them up, you can use them later, but you don't have to. It might just be a nice memory for you. So when I talk to my clients and when I talk to my students and when I talk to my author friends, I always tell them videotape everything. So if you are doing a research trip for your book, or if you come across a scene that looks like something in your book, or you have something really cool related to your book that you are experiencing, film it. It can be just filming it, and then you could talk about it later, or you could just film it and write a blog post about it later, or you can narrate it. You could actually tell us what we're seeing. So let's pretend you have seen a waterfall, because I like waterfalls today, I guess. Let's pretend you've seen this waterfall and it looks just like the one in your book. And in front of you, you see this gorgeous scene. It's got the waterfall, it's got some rock ledges, and then it's got the river below. And you can actually see that scene with those characters playing out in front of you. I want you to pull out your phone and I want you to videotape it. And I want you to tell me exactly what you are seeing there. So if you want to point and tell me, along those rocks, this is where that character has that fight with that assassin. And then when they escape, they crawl behind the waterfall here, and they hide there until somebody else shows up, and you go through the scene with them in your video, and you tell them exactly what it is that you are seeing and how it's playing out in front of you in your imagination. Now, I want you to be filming anything related to your book. So film those scenes. Film yourself writing. Film your reaction to something. Maybe you just got your notes back from your editor and you want to film your reaction. Do it. You don't have to use it, but you can save it and use it later if that's something that you want to put out there to the world. Film yourself when you are getting your box of books, when they are not yet released to the public, but you get those advanced copies. Film that. And when you are doing other book-related things, so let's say your book has martial arts in it and you happen to be going to a martial arts exposition, or I don't think I said that right, a martial arts expo, and you want to film some of it. As long as you have permission from the people involved, film it. And then show it on your blog, on your social media, in interviews, wherever you need to. Pull this footage out and then talk about how it's related to your book. The more that you film, the more you have to work with. So if you are going on a trip, or if you are going to do something, or if you are having an experience like one of your characters, film it. Film yourself talking about it. Even if you want to be brave and just talk about your characters as you are writing them. So pull up your phone, set it on a little tripod or a shelf, and just tell me about your main character and how you're feeling about them and how that scene worked out for you. And then pull those out of your archives later and use those within your marketing strategy. Again, you don't have to use anything, but if you don't have it, you might regret it. I have definitely had authors who have gone on trips to places that they aren't usually in. So they've gone overseas somewhere, and their book, part of it takes place overseas. And I told them, you need to film this. Even if you don't like it, even if you're not comfortable, even if you don't want to see that on film, make sure you have that in case you want to use it. Even if you don't use it for public use it for your own personal use. You can go back and look at things, you can research things, you can remember things. It helps. So you want to film as much as you possibly can and then use it later, even if it's just for yourself, even if it's just for your own memories. Film everything, save it, and then come back to it to help with your marketing later on. So the third thing I want to talk to you about is going to be to create a side document of stories and facts about your book. So as you are writing your story, as you're writing your book, you're going to come across things that you're going to want to remember later. So maybe it's a story about that character that you did not know existed. You didn't know that they were going to be a part of your story. They worked their way into your story, and then they demanded a bigger part, and then they changed the entire course of your story. I want you to write that down. And maybe You had a fact about your main guy that you were going to write into your story, but you had to get something else written first, and you wanted to go back and add it in later, but you kind of wrote yourself into a box and you couldn't fit it in. Write down that exclusive fact that did not make it into the book and tell me about his tattoo or his favorite food or his whatever that you were going to write in. And I want you to write down the time that you were writing the kissing scene and your dog would not leave you alone, so that you had to stop in the middle of your big scene and play with your puppy dog. And I want you to tell me about the time that you thought your computer was dying in the middle of your scene, and by some miracle, you got your scene saved. It's saved on a jump drive, and then your computer crashed and it was okay. It was safe. Everything was fine. I want you to tell me your good stories. I want you to tell me your bad stories. I want you to tell me your facts about your characters that didn't make it in. I want you to tell me about the scene that you thought you were going to write that never fit in. And I want you to tell me about the things that did and did not happen within your manuscript. Any little story that you can remember is going to help. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't write them down as they happen, you're going to forget them later on, and you're going to wish that you had written them down. And later on, after you have published your book, when you come back and you look at this file, chances are you probably have already forgotten a couple of those stories. And it's a really great reminder of what you went through and what you were doing as you were writing your story. So take the time to create a side document. Have one for each and every manuscript that you are writing, and write down important facts, write down important stories, write down anything you want to remember. This doesn't have to necessarily be something that you're sharing with the public, but it could be something that you are going to be sharing with your fans. Maybe you're going to pull this up in your secret street team later on and give it to them as a bonus piece of information. Or maybe it's going to be a reward for your fans that have done something really awesome within your group. Or maybe it's going to be some kind of interview answer that you are going to pull out later on. Or maybe you're going to write an entire blog post or newsletter post about that one little fact that you wrote down on the sheet. And the more that you can write down, the more that you can create, the more that you have on that list, the more you're going to get out of it, because you can do things like blog posts and newsletters. You can do interview questions. You can give exclusive facts to different bloggers and booktubers. You can then use this within your social media marketing. You can turn it into a book graphic. You can turn it into a picture. You can do all sorts of amazing things with it. You could even put it on your Instagram stories or your Snapchat in a series of little snippets throughout the day, and they have to watch those pages to get the full story. There are amazing things that you can do within these stories and facts. And here's the thing. You know I never leave you on your own to do this kind of thing. Every single week I give you a bonus downloadable freebie, and this week is no different because I have an exclusive bonus downloadable freebie for you that is going to be all about these stories and facts. And so I have taken the time to go through and list a series of questions so that you never have to come up with these on your own. Now, if you have things, you absolutely should be doing things on your own. When things come up, add them to your list. Make sure you write down all of your stories, all of your facts, everything you want to remember, and everything you could potentially use within your marketing. But if you need some help jogging your memory, or if you want to make sure that you have enough for every single manuscript, even if you are making your own list and you want to add this in addition, I've created a several-page PDF full of questions, and I want you to download it starting tomorrow. It's going to be in your show notes. So if you have not joined our show notes newsletter, it is shownotes.readingtransforms.com. You can sign up for it. Every single week you get our downloadable freebie plus extra bonus in-depth material from me every single week after the show. And so you can download this. I want you to print it out every single time you write a different manuscript, and I want you to start taking notes. And I want you to write these things down, or I want you to type these things out, and I want you to be very aware of how you are going to use this with each and every manuscript. And make sure you have a copy of this for each and every book. And you can go back and do older manuscripts too. So if you have books that are already out, take the time to think through your old stories and write these down. And then use these within your marketing. Use these within your social media. Use these within your blog posts. Use these within your newsletters. Use these within your interview questions and those bonus pieces of information that you give to bloggers and booktubers, or to your publisher if they are putting out something on their blog or their newsletter. These are all things that you can use within your marketing strategy to get more behind the scenes information about your book out to your fans, so that it's not all buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It's let me give you valuable information about the behind the scenes of my book. So that's going to be going out in your show notes newsletter tomorrow morning. That'll be in your inbox as long as we don't have any tech glitches. Last week we had a little bit of a tech glitch, so we were a day late on our newsletter because our rebroadcast would not download to YouTube. Thank you for that, YouTube. We appreciate and love you. So it should be out there tomorrow. If not, it'll be out the next day. You know how it works. But that will be in your newsletter, and I will have more exclusive information for you about this in your newsletter. So now let's move on to step number 3. Or no, that was step 3. Let's move on to step 4. I was checking the chat box as we were talking, guys. I'm seeing the questions are coming in, and we will answer those in just a little bit. So number 4 is going to be to list your photo props. And this is what I really want to talk about. This one makes a big difference to me because, you know, I am frequently teaching you about how to photograph your books better for Bookstagram and for your marketing. And you also know that I do this professionally. So books and your stylized book pictures are a big deal to me. And I'm going to save you so much time and effort on this step alone. Like, if you weren't listening to the other steps in this process, listen to this one. This is going to save you so much time and effort. So here we go. We are listing the props that we find within your book. So as you are writing, I want you to keep your normal lists of character details and whatever it is that you keep track of. And I want you to then keep a separate side document exclusively for photo props. So anytime an object comes up in your book, write it down. If a character eats an apple, write it down. If they trip over a rock, write it down. If they walk by a waterfall, write it down. If they're in the forest, write it down. And here's the thing. We want reoccurring things, but we also want little exclusive things too. So let's pretend that we just happen to see a candle as we're walking by, and that's the only time this candle is mentioned. I want you to put it down on the list, because later on, when you are doing a social media game and you're doing a scavenger hunt in your book, which is a really cool game to be playing with your fans, by the way, and I want you to take a picture of a candle with your book, and I want you to say, where was this? Or what does this have to do with my story? Find the page, snap the picture, and send it to me to win. And then they will have to search for it. Because this is not a huge, big, super important candle within this story. This is a teeny tiny little thing. They're going to have to search. And when they have to search, they relive your book. And when they relive your book, they're going to reread your book. And when they reread your book, they're going to fall in love with it all over again. And then they're going to start talking about it to their friends. They're going to talk about it to you. They're going to talk about it to your other fans. And that is what you want. So make a list of these things. Go through and list everything that occurs more than once, everything that occurs once. And as you are taking this list into consideration, I want you to be adding things like the page number, or the scene, or the chapter, or the lines around it. Because the more information you can give yourself, the more you're going to remember, and the easier it's going to be. So let's pretend you have candle on the list. But remember, our candle is not a big thing within the story. And now you've got it on your list when you go back to look at your list and, oh no, where did this candle come from and why? But if you have the page number, and if you have the chapter number, and if you have the lines surrounding it, you will know the context, you will know where it is, and you don't have to go search for yourself. So make sure you give yourself as much context as possible. You want chapters, you want names, you want numbers, you want lines, you want characters that said it or characters that interacted with it. You want to take notes about it, do it. And here's the thing. This is a running list, and your book may change in editing, and that's okay. Just revise your list. You just want to tweak it as you go. As long as you have a general reference of where it is and how to find it and why it's important, you're good. Just make sure that it's not something you took out. So let's pretend we took out that one line about the candle, and then you go sending people on a search for a candle that's no longer in your book. That could be a problem. Just double check before you post anything. Just make sure you know exactly where it is and how it fits in. So keeping this running list is going to help you, because later when you are marketing this, you are going to pull out this list and you're going to use it for your Bookstagram photos. So when you take pretty pictures of your book and you use those in your marketing, or when you give bloggers an idea of how to decorate them. It's going to help. If you work with someone like me and you're paying me to photograph your book and create marketing materials out of it, and you can give me a list of things, that's going to help me a lot, especially if I have not read your book yet, or if I'm not going to read your book because we are on a tight schedule. The more information you give me, the more helpful you're going to be and the better pictures you're going to get. So you want to make sure you have that list so that you can go back and photograph your own book, so that you can take pictures and put them on your Instagram or your Instagram stories or your Snapchat or your blog or your Facebook or your newsletter. You want this list so that you can turn it into a game. Like I said, your social media scavenger hunt. Hey guys, this is related to my book. Find out how and find out where. And when they take that picture or that screenshot and they send it to you, they win. Yay them. Or you can do all sorts of other social media games. We have a whole bunch of them that we talk about at Reading Transforms, so check out the website. We've got stuff. We've even got free stuff in our How to Creatively and Effectively Market Your Book Even When You're Flat Broke, totally free PDF, which is at the top of our website, www.readingtransforms.com. You're going to want to check that out, and you can download it right there for free. It's 20 free ideas for marketing that won't cost you anything, plus a bonus 15 free prizes that you do not have to pay for, that you can give out for contests and giveaways. So check that out. We've got some really cool ideas within this PDF that will help you with your social media marketing. And you can turn this into a game, you can turn this into a challenge, you can turn this into some kind of scavenger hunt. There are so many things you can do with this list. It also helps your bloggers and your booktubers if they are promoting you through Bookstagram, so you can give ideas. You can give out a challenge. Guys, pick one object from my book and photograph it with my book and put it on social media and tag me in it. Simple as that. You can give some examples. Or you can say, hey, we're doing a week challenge of book photos. So I want you to, on day 1, take a picture with an apple. Day 2, take a picture with a candle. Day 3, take a picture outside to represent the forest that they were in. Day 4, take a picture of water because they were by a waterfall. Day 5, take a picture with a snack because they were in the kitchen a lot. I'm making things up here, but you get the idea. The more you can do with this, the more interactive they are going to be. So take the time to use this list in as many ways as possible. Now, step 5, we are moving on to our very last one. We are flying through today because I am talking as fast as Lorelai Gilmore. Apparently, I'm getting ready for the new Gilmore Girls release. So, sorry, I apologize for talking so fast. Number 5 is going to be to collect the things that remind you of your book. So this kind of goes with the last one, but it kind of doesn't. Because in this, I'm not just talking about photo props. I am talking about things that remind you of your book. So maybe it's not in your book, but it reminds you of your book. So maybe that handkerchief reminds you of the cover of your book. Grab it, put it in a collection. Maybe that necklace reminds you of your main character, and you want to grab that and put it in your collection. Maybe that particular rock that you just saw on the ground out in somebody's driveway, like your friend's driveway or relative's driveway. Don't be stealing rocks from other people's driveways. I just realized my example there. So you found a rock, and it looks like the rock that your character used to throw at the assassin who was attacking them. Grab it, put it in your collection. What I want you to do is create a box or create a drawer or create a shelf that is exclusive to that one specific book. And I want you to pull everything that is related to that book. Anything that makes you think of the book, the cover, the characters, the scenes, the actions. And I want you to collect that and keep that for yourself. And this is going to serve a couple of purposes. The first one is going to be your photo props, so that can help you when you're taking your Bookstagram pictures and things like that. But I also want it to be a source of inspiration for you. So you can use this within your blog post. You can use this within your newsletter. You can use this as a source of inspiration to write your blog post or your social media posts. This is not things that are definitively from your book. They can be. But it's stuff that reminds you of your book, or it gives that right feel. So you want to take those and use those as pictures, but also as inspiration. You can kind of use these as blog posts where you talk about that thing. So let's pretend you found an old watch and it looks like something that a character in your book would wear. But you didn't necessarily talk about that in your book. You could still do a blog post or a newsletter article about, hey, this is this watch. It reminds me of character A, because of this. And then you can talk about that. You can start a whole conversation about that. You could even post it on your Instagram and say, hey, this is the watch that reminds me of this character. Do you think this fits him? Do you think this goes with his character or with this particular scene or with that outfit we were talking about? Do you think this works? If you do, awesome. If you don't, take a picture of one that you think actually works. You can do this as a challenge to them. You can do this as a game with them, or you can do this to inform them. You want to make sure that you're giving them valuable information, so talk about how you feel it's connected. And remember, you're the author. You're the one who wrote this. You get to make the rules here. So maybe they don't think it fits that character. That's okay. You wrote them. You're in charge. It's all good. So you want to give them ideas and inspiration and ways to connect the book to real everyday objects. So again, maybe that thing that you picked up and put in your collection is a modern day thing, but it reminds you of your historical book. Maybe it doesn't fit exactly, but it gives that feel. And that's what you want to talk about. So use this within your marketing strategy, use this within your social media, use this within your blog posts, and use this within your newsletter. When you are doing this within your social media and you're doing this within your website, your blog, or your newsletter, it's going to help to have these things prepared. So let's go over this one more time. The first thing is to take photos and photograph everything, guys. Seriously, it doesn't matter what it is, how small, how silly. I want you to take a picture of it. It will help you. It will help your fans. It will help in your social media. It gives you talking points. It gives you things to show to your Instagram friends. It gives you things to show to the people interviewing you. It gives you things to use within your publisher's website when you're writing blog posts for them or when you are guest starring on a show like Young Adult Edition. So if you hang out with me, you know I do a second show that is exclusively for my authors to come on once a week for a live broadcast, and we hang out with fans. We play games, we answer questions, we tell secrets. It's amazing. What would happen if you came on my show and you brought me a couple of pictures, or if we jump to point 2, you brought me some videos and we could talk about that live on air and we could show people, hey, this is what we were experiencing as we were writing this, or this is what we see when we were on that trip and it reminded me of my book and this is how the scene plays out, or this thing that I am bringing if we jump to step 5 when we're collecting things for your book. This is that thing that reminded me of that person. Here it is. Let me hold it up and show you. This is the crown that the princess wore in my book, because you know we like royalty around here. If you can bring those things to me or to a book blogger or a booktuber or a convention or an event, that is going to help you so much. And if you already have it prepared, it's going to save you so much time and stress. So point 3 was for you to make sure that you have a side document full of your stories, full of your facts about your book. I want to hear those things that happened while you were writing. I want to hear the things that happened as you were editing. I want to hear about those characters we didn't hear about, or I want to hear about the characters and how they changed what you were doing. The more that you can give me information-wise, the more exclusive information you can give, and the more unique information that most people would forget that you can give me, the better. The more I'm going to like you, the more I'm going to be interested, and the more I'm going to check your social media. So I've definitely had authors that I follow, and I've gone to their pages because they give out this kind of information. They give me behind-the-scenes look at the characters that I love, at the stories that I love. They tell me how they were writing it, or where they were writing it, or what they were doing, or what inspired the scene, or how they kept getting interrupted and it changed what happened, or how that character came in and destroyed all the plans for the book and changed everything, and now it became the book that I love so much. The more information you can give me, the better, and you will forget it. So if you write it down, you will never forget it. And again, I've got the freebie for this week that will give us a list of exclusive facts and stories about each and every manuscript that you write that you don't want to forget. So it's literally, I think it's like 4 pages of questions that you can answer. And they're not long questions. I think there's like 4 questions on a page because I give you space to write. So take a few minutes and fill that out each and every time you are writing a new manuscript. And then the 5th point is nope, I skipped one. That was my 3rd point. My 4th point is to get your list of photo props. So that's going to save you time and effort later on because you already know what you are photographing with it, and you already know what you're challenging your fans to photograph with it. You already know those little details that you can work into challenges and games and scavenger hunts that you can turn into blog posts or exclusive facts on your Instagram stories or Snapchat or in your newsletter, or things that you can hint to your bloggers and booktubers. You can even use this to create connection images, which is one of my favorite things. In fact, our very first episode was on connection images and how you can take all these different photo props and put them together in one image and then challenge your fans. How does this fit with my book? How does this fit with my story? Guess now. Or if your book's already out, you can say, how did this fit into the story? Find the page number, find the sentence, find what the character said about it, tell me how it is. You can turn it into a contest, you can turn it into a game, you can turn it into a scavenger hunt, and it is amazing. So then our fifth point is going to be to collect the things that remind you of your story. So what is it that reminds you of your story? Something that gives you the feel of your story, the feel of your characters. It reminds you of what you wrote. I want you to collect it and have it together. And then use it within your social media and use it to inspire you to write your blog posts, your newsletters, your social media games and questions. And that's a good one. Ask questions. Take a picture of that thing and say, how do you think I connect this to my book? It wasn't in my book. It wasn't a part of my story. But how do you think I connect this to my story? And see what they have to say. That's going to spark quite the conversation. So those are our 5 things that you can do to prepare to market your book while you are still writing it. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to answer some questions. I want you to jump over into the question box and I want you to write your questions in now. Make sure you are using that red question mark so that we know what is just conversation and what is you asking a question. So go ahead, ask that right now. Okay, so here we go. Are there different strategies authors should use if they're self-publishing versus traditional publishing? Okay. So honestly, I'm gonna say that everybody should be marketing their books. And just because you are working with a publisher or maybe you are working with some kind of hybrid publishing does not mean that you should not be doing your own marketing. Now, within this, you do have to operate under what your publisher is doing if you are a traditionally published person. So there may be some rules and some things that you are allowed to do and aren't allowed to do. Just double check with that. But for the most part, you should be marketing the same way, and that is full force. So you need to be very aware of your fan base and your clients. So who is it that is your fan? You need to get to know them. You need to understand when they are online, what they are looking for, what they are doing, how they are bookstagramming, what tags and hashtags they are looking at on their social media platforms, and then you need to work within that. So I'm going to say, to answer this, no, there is not a different way to be marketing traditional versus indie, but you do need to be targeting your people. So it depends entirely on your fan base. So if you are a science fiction writer, you are going to be marketing yourself and your books a lot differently than if you are a contemporary romance writer. So you just have to be aware of what works for you, what works for your books, what works for your collection. And I want you to be doing things pretty much the same. So you should still be photographing everything. And yes, I understand if your book takes place in some other world, it's a little hard to photograph a scene from your book and tell me how that plays out because, let's face it, if your book takes place on, let's say, Mars, you're not really going to have Mars to photograph unless you have some really epic telescope type thing. But you're not going to have that scene. But you will have things that remind you of that. So I know I've got a really cool friend who actually does have a book about Mars, and she's got caves within this book. And she once told me that it was inspired by caves that she's actually been to. So go to the caves, take those photos, and then tell me that is how it inspired that particular scene. So it doesn't have to be exact. Let's pretend I have a waterfall in my book. And it is a very tall waterfall, and it's very wide, and there's a cave behind it, and there's 3 trees over along the rocks, and then there's a fish in the stream, and 2 deer next to the waterfall over here. Now, chances are that is not going to be something I'm just going to stumble across. In fact, I might not have that really big waterfall, but I might have a little waterfall, and maybe there's some cool rocks and things like that. It's okay if it's different. It does not have to be exact. This is not a movie. This is real life, and I want you to tell me what reminds you of it. So no, I don't have a giant waterfall like the one in my book. I don't think I've written waterfalls, but whatevs. Let's pretend I have a book about waterfalls. And I find a waterfall. That's going to remind me of my book. When I snap that picture and I put that on social media and I say this waterfall reminds me of the waterfall in chapter 21 of the book when this thing happened with my main characters. Now, every time my fans see a waterfall, any waterfall, doesn't matter what waterfall, it's going to remind them of my book. Here's a fun one for you. A few years back, I went to an aquarium, and I was just looking through my photos of that aquarium because I was using them in one of my fine arts photography images, and there was a fake waterfall. And it was big. It was like really tall. It was like 2 stories, but it was just a little trickle of water going down into this little pool down at the bottom. And that is a waterfall. It is an inside waterfall. It was a waterfall at an aquarium. It was nothing like the waterfall in my fake book. But guess what? If I stumbled across that when I was on that trip to an aquarium and I Snapchatted that or I Instagram storied that or I put that on my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter pages, and I said, guys, I just found a waterfall, and it made me think of chapter 20 whatever in my book when this person did this thing with this other person. How cool is that? Because it's a waterfall that has nothing to do with my book, and I just connected every waterfall in existence to my book. And now every time my fans see any waterfall anywhere, including in an aquarium, they will think of chapter 20 whatever in my book. Amazing, right? So it's got to be something that inspires them to think back about your book. It doesn't have to be the exact thing. It doesn't have to be Mars. It doesn't have to be whatever is in your book. As long as it's reminiscent of your book, it reminds you of your book. Marketing is not different between traditional publishing and self-publishing in that you should be doing things differently. It should be different in that you are catering to your fans and what's going to work for your fans and your book. So you have to figure out what works for your brand, what reminds you of your brand and your books and your story and your characters, and what is going to speak to your fans. Because not all of our fans are going to like 20 million pictures of a waterfall. And maybe I'm a little out there and I'm going, anytime I see water of any kind, I'm relating it back to my book. Is that too much? It might be for some fans, but not for others. So you have to understand your fans. And one of these days, we're going to do an in-depth lesson on RTTV about creating your target fan and really understanding them and getting to know them. This is something I've been doing for quite some time now, and I know exactly what my fans want to see, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do that too. And I know it's really hard to study your fans, but I've got the whole thing figured out. I'm going to tell you all about it, but it's not today, so we're moving on. We're going to take a look. I know I've got a couple other questions. So let me see. Yeah, street teams. Okay, so street teams are really good in that you can do a lot of marketing with them. So we had a question about how we should use our street teams with this material and how we should use this within our street teams. So within our street teams, first off, your street team is a secret or a closed group, probably on Facebook, because that's a great way to communicate with them. It's a lot easier than some of the other social media platforms. So if you have a group on Facebook, it should be closed or secret, where you have your most engaged fans. These are your elite fans. These are your evangelists. These are the people that go out of their way to help you, to support you, and they want to be the first to know everything. Now, within the street team, yes, they are doing work for you, but you are also giving them a lot of exclusive content, a lot of insight and depth into your stories that other people are not getting, because these are your elite fans. These are the ones that are going out there and selling your books for you. So you want to reward these people. You want them to be aware of things that other people don't get to see, or you want them to see things way before other people see it. So you can take all of these things, these exclusive pictures, these videos, these photo props, and you can tell them different things. So take that list of photo props and drop 10 things into your street team. And when you have those 10 things in your street team, send them out within 1 week or within 2 weeks and tell them they have to do all 10 of these within those 2 weeks. It's a challenge. And then they win like a 15-minute Skype conversation with you, or they win a signed bookmark or something cool. You want to get them involved in this, and they are the only ones that have this list. Or you want to tell them an exclusive story. Or, and I really like this one, because this is a great one. And this goes back to those videos. When you have videos and you do not want to show them to the world, you may want to show them just to your elite people, just to those street team people. You want to show them exactly what you experienced as you were writing this. And maybe you were a little bit more fearless when you were talking to these people because you know them and you trust them and they trust you, and you have developed this relationship with them where you're secure enough to share that with them. This is where you can do that. And yes, you don't have to put it out to the entire world. The entire world does not need to see that video of you talking in that place about that thing where you sound a little silly and the wind blew your hair in your face and it just didn't go super, super well, but it's still really cool. Drop this in your street team. Let them be the ones to experience this. It doesn't have to be available to everybody. It can be something so exclusive. It's just your biggest fans, your evangelists, your elite people. Reward them, even if your hair blew in your face while you were talking. It's okay if you look a little bit silly in these videos. It's okay. I promise. I heard the coolest thing this week. I heard the coolest thing. I want to share this with you. People get nervous when they are on camera. And that is because when you're nervous, you're focused on you. You're focused on how you look, how you sound, how you're talking, what you're saying. But the second you focus on them and providing information to them, you stop thinking about you, and you don't think about how your hair's messed up, and you don't think about how you sound, and you don't think about how you look. See this? That happens. And in most cases, I would just let it go, but I totally just pointed it out. So that's the thing. When you are doing these things, the second you are more concerned with them than you, the nervousness goes away. So if you watch my videos, you're going to see I've got hair out of place. I've got weird things that I've said. I've stumbled over my words. I have hair blowing in my face. I have malfunctions with the camera and with all sorts of things. But because I am not concerned with me and how I look and how I feel, because I'm concerned with my teaching, I just let it go. I'm not always happy with how I look on camera. In fact, I very rarely like how I look on camera. I'm a professional photographer, and so I'm very picky about the way that I look on camera. And I just have to let it go because I'm teaching and because I'm busy and I don't have time to be dealing with the way I look on camera because I'm giving something valuable to people. And when I focus on you guys, when I focus on other people, and not focus on me, and it doesn't matter. So that pro tip for today, when you focus on the people that you are talking to, the people you're working with, you stop thinking about how you look, how you sound, how you act, and it makes you far less nervous. So there you go. So drop those into your street teams. When you are involving your street teams in these things beforehand, it really, really helps within your marketing because they can back you up or they can support you. They can go and retweet you when you post this, or they can jump onto those scavenger hunts or those challenges you're posting on Instagram and Twitter. The more you can get a street team involved, the better. So let's see, do we have any more questions? What do we do with the photos once we take them? Well, hey, if you watched last week's episode, actually, you should totally check that out, episode 11. We talked about how to protect your manuscript before it ever leaves your computer. And within that, we were talking about, I feel like it was step 3, we were talking about your folders, your files within your computer. And so you should have folders for everything. So you have your main folder for your books, then one for each manuscript. Under that, you should have your manuscript, your updated manuscript, your edited manuscript. Then you should have the pictures that you've taken. Then you should have the videos that you've taken. Then you should have the quotes from your fans. Then you should have your reviews. Then you should have your quote graphics. Then you should have your marketing graphics. Subdomains and subdomains, that's a website thing. Subfolders and subfolders and subfolders within your folders to keep everything organized. So if you go back and watch that episode, and I highly recommend you do if you've not seen it yet, make sure you have a folder specific to the photos you're taking while you are doing while you're writing. So while you're writing and you're taking these photos, have a specific folder for that within the subfolder under this manuscript. And then you can pull those out. So keep those nice and safe, keep them organized, keep everything labeled. And as you are keeping these pictures, I'm going to suggest to you, and I suggested this in the last episode too, that you are labeling them. So if you're going to forget what something is or how it's connected or where you took it or when you took it or why you took it, add it to the title. Add in when you took it, why you took it, how you took it, where it goes in your book, what it has to do with your book. If it's a picture of your puppy sitting on your foot while you're writing it, write it down. Write down the chapter you were writing, or the scene, or the paragraph, or the words. Write down as much information as you can because it's going to help you to remember what it is later, and that's going to help you develop that into a blog post or an interview question or something for your booktubers and book bloggers. It's going to help you develop it into your social media games and things like that. So the more information you can put into it, the better. Okay, so we are now at the end. We're going to wrap up just a couple minutes early today because I am just that awesome. We're going to get everybody out. We're going to have a great afternoon. It's going to be wonderful. If you have any last minute questions, pop those in now. All right, so as we are wrapping this up, I just want to run through this one more time. Step 1, photograph everything. Step 2 is going to be to videotape everything. Step 3 is to keep a side document with all of your stories and facts. And you can do that by grabbing your freebie download, which is coming out to you in your show notes tomorrow, shownotes.readingtransforms.com if you are not there. If you are not joining us live, you can get all of our back episodes by going to shownotes.readingtransforms.com, and you can get access to all of our back bonuses. Step 4 is going to be to collect a list of your photo props that you can then use in your Bookstagram photos or your marketing photos, in your blog posts, and your newsletters. And step 5 is going to be to collect items and keep them in somewhere safe, a box, a drawer, a shelf, items that remind you of your book, even if they're not directly from your book, because when you have all of these things, it's going to inspire you to write your blog posts and create your social media games, to put those stories out on Snapchat and Instagram stories. It's going to help you create things that you need for your interviews, for your blog posts, for your newsletters. It's going to help you with your social media. It's going to give you things to post. It's going to give you questions to ask. It's going to give you challenges to give to your fans. And it's going to give you exclusive information for your stray teams. The more you have, the more you document, the more you keep track of things, and the more information you write down as you are going, the less you're going to forget. And the easier it's going to be for you because you never have to go back and search. You never have to look for things. You never have to guess about things. And you never struggle to find a story because you have document and folders and pictures and videos and physical stuff that you can pick up and show people that remind you or are related to your story. And when you have that, it saves you time, it saves you effort, and again, you never, ever struggle. So thank you so much for joining me. This has been great. Next week, we have Alyssa Chiavari. She is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about formatting. I am so excited. It's going to be a really great episode. I hope you will join us for it. And I hope that you will join us for Young Adult Edition as well, which is right before the show, where each week we bring on a new author and we talk and hang out with fans. It's so much fun. And if you are an author who wants to be on Young Adult Edition, reach out. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your book. And I want to bring you on the show to hang out with your fans live. Now, if you're an author who has something really cool to teach, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your proposals. I want to hear your ideas. And if you just have an idea or you have a question that you want me to do an episode on, even if you're not teaching it, let me know. Because when you have questions, I can get those answered for you, whether it's from me or from my book world professional friends. In fact, I just had one of my authors, we were doing a conversation thing, camera thing. Okay, fine, it was someone I was recording with and we were doing behind the scenes, we were chatting. And she specifically gave me a suggestion for something that we could do within the show. She had a question about it, she wanted more information. And so we are going to be doing that for her and for her other authors. So if you have questions, let me know. I will do episodes for you. I will do blog posts for you. I will create freebies for you. I will get it done and get you answers. So let me know. Drop them in the comment box, which is that side for you. It's this side for me. Drop it in the comment box. Send me a message. Send me an email. Send me a direct message. Jump on to community.readingtransforms.com because that will kick you over to my closed Facebook group where I am in there every single day answering questions, giving you tips and tricks for competing with the social media algorithms. I am helping you with ideas for your marketing and your branding, and we are focused on getting your books out there to the world and getting your fans more engaged with you. And you can come and be in this community of amazing authors who are just like you in the same places as you. And we are helping each other to grow, and we're supporting each other, and we're getting people engaged on our social media platforms. You can also jump onto www.readingtransforms.com, which is our main website, and that will give you access to all of our shows, our online communities, our online courses, the projects that we're working on, and the amazing things that we're doing over at Reading Transforms. We have so much going on right now. I'm so excited about it because it's so much fun, and it's such a great community with all of our amazing authors. And it is something that is going to be super valuable to you. So jump onto our website, www.readingtransforms.com, and check that out. Now, I'm going to drop some links into our chat box right now for you. If you are watching our rebroadcast, this is going to be in our show notes down below, so you can go ahead and check those out. You are live. They are in the chat box right now, and that gives you access to all of those things I just told you about. I am so excited to see you next week. I hope you will join us. Same time, same place. You can check out community.readingtransforms.com for our live broadcast link. And remember, next week we are having a special guest with us, and it's going to be awesome. You guys have the most fantastic week. I will see you in the community starting tomorrow. I might even see you later tonight. I might go hang out for a bit because I've got some really cool stuff that's coming out to you over the next week related to what we talked about today. And I also have some exclusive bonus content coming to you within our show notes newsletter. So if you're not signed up, make sure you jump onto shownotes.readingtransforms.com. We'll get you signed up tonight because the information is going out tomorrow. You guys stay inspired. Here are just a couple of things I want to leave you with before you go. Have a fabulous week. Stay inspired. I love you guys. You're totally, totally awesome. See ya.
Hey authors, I know that marketing your book can be so confusing, especially when you don't have a big budget to work with, but I want you to know that there are ways that you can market your book without costing you a cent. I have come up with a list of 20 totally cost-free marketing ideas that you can implement into your marketing strategy and see the same great results that my own authors have seen when they implemented it into their marketing plan. You can get your very own totally free copy of how to market your book creatively and effectively, even when you're flat broke, if you jump on to www.readingtransforms.com. Up near the top, you're going to see a spot where you can download it completely for free. It is my gift to you. I hope that you take this PDF and you use it in your marketing strategy and see incredible results, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. I'm KM Robinson of KM Robinson Photography and Reading Transforms. Stay inspired. Do you have a new book releasing soon? Do you want to create a unique experience for your fans on your book release day? Do you want to interact with your fans, celebrate your book, and be the talk of the industry? Book launch live events bring all this and more right into your grasp. Rita Award winner and New York Times bestselling author Pin Tip Dunn called it the highlight of my release day. Dying to find out if this is for you? Visit booklaunchlive.readingtransforms.com for more info and see if this is the perfect thing for your release day. Do you ever feel like you're alone in the book world? When the conferences die down and you're sitting in front of your computer alone writing your next manuscript, things can seem very isolated. But they don't have to be. Do you ever feel like social media changes are getting the better of you? Do you feel like you need support that you just don't have? You don't have to be on your own trying to solve the algorithms. Join the Reading Transforms community for a group of authors and book world professionals going through the same things as you. Connect and support one another. Hear from industry leaders on technology changes, and get the latest updates on RTTV, the weekly live broadcast that teaches you to market your books and brand yourself more efficiently and creatively. Get the community and support that you've been longing for, and surround yourself with authors just like you. We'll see you there.